Sabretooth has always been one of Marvel's most fascinating mutants, but somewhere along the way, the conversation around him got reduced to comparisons with Wolverine, and that really doesn't do Victor Creed justice. Yes, they share a few features like claws, healing factors, and bad attitudes, among other things, but the moment you start looking at their biology closely, it becomes clear there's more than what meets the eye. Sabretooth carries significantly greater muscle mass and raw physical power that's often shown to be in a league of its own, and when he enters a feral state, it goes far beyond instinct. His behavior, perception, and aggression shift in a way that changes how he processes everything around him. If you've been following his recent comic runs, then you'd know that Marvel has been exploring his physiology in more depth than ever before. So today, we're breaking down the absolutely wild anatomy of Sabretooth, and by the end, it will be clear why many consider him one of the most dangerous mutants in the Marvel Universe. Let's get to it. What kind of mutant is Sabretooth biologically, and how is he different from Wolverine from the very beginning? Just for a moment, let's forget about the claws and that healing factor, because Sabretooth and Wolverine are different when it comes to the exact expression of their mutations, and this difference is exactly what makes Sabretooth a bit terrifying. Victor Creed is sometimes described by fans and unofficial classification systems as a beta-level mutant, but Marvel hasn't consistently used that label as a fixed biological category for him. What is confirmed is that his mutation expresses itself through a strongly feral and animalistic physiology, amplifying his strength, aggression, speed, predatory instincts, senses, reflexes, durability, and healing ability together. When it comes to Wolverine, his natural mutation primarily included his healing factor, enhanced senses, physical abilities, and bone claws. Everything involving the Adamantium skeleton happened later through the Weapon X program. Sabretooth has generally been shown as physically stronger and considerably larger than Wolverine. Marvel reference books have assigned Creed different strength levels across different eras, with some descriptions placing him within the low-ton superhuman range after enhancement. Wolverine was traditionally described in older handbooks as being capable of lifting around 800 pounds, although later Marvel sources have sometimes assigned him higher strength classifications. Sabretooth is also considerably larger physically because he has traditionally been depicted at around 6 feet 6 inches and approximately 275 pounds or more. Wolverine is traditionally listed at 5 foot 3 inches, with much of his unusually high weight coming from the adamantium bonded to his skeleton. Is Sabretooth's healing factor actually stronger than Wolverine's? When it comes to the Marvel Universe, healing factors are quite common among mutants, and they come in a wide variety of forms. When it comes to Sabretooth, you can say that accelerated healing is one of his primary mutant power. The accelerated healing factor allows him to regenerate many destroyed or damaged parts of his body far more effectively than any ordinary human. Many references have noted that the rate of healing can vary according to the severity of the damage, and this whole process happens automatically, clearly meaning that Sabretooth doesn't consciously control every stage of it. His healing factor has allowed him to survive severe injuries, massive blood loss, crushed organs, gunfire, stabbings, and other trauma that would kill an ordinary human. In Sabretooth and the Exiles issue 1, when he was being experimented upon by Orcus, he was fitted with a power-dampening collar, but his body still displayed unusual regenerative activity. His natural healing ability is definitely dangerous when you think about it, and it's also been altered or enhanced at different times through experimentation. However, his healing ability doesn't stop him from feeling pain from his wounds, nor does it mean that regeneration is painless. Now, what makes his healing different from Wolverine is that Logan has spent much of his life carrying an adamantium-bonded skeleton. Several Marvel stories have suggested that the metal can tax his healing factor, particularly when the adamantium is damaged, poisoned, or forcibly removed. However, the exact effect of adamantium on Wolverine's regenerative capacity has never been quantified consistently. Sabretooth has not always carried adamantium in his body, so his healing factor has usually not been required to deal with that constant burden. That doesn't establish that Sabretooth's healing factor is universally stronger in every era. His regenerative abilities have changed from rider to rider and after different experiments. Just like Logan, Creed's healing can also be suppressed or interfered with through specialized weapons and power removal technology. The Muramasa blade has been depicted as capable of creating wounds that heal far more slowly and can bypass powerful healing factors. Those claws and fangs, are they actual bone or something else entirely? Some time ago, I had the exact same question, and now I get to answer it. Sabretooth's claws and fangs are natural parts of his mutant anatomy, but describing the claws simply as exposed bones wouldn't be completely accurate. Sabretooth possesses elongated razor-sharp claws or talons in place of ordinary fingernails and toenails. They are extremely hard and sharp compared with normal human nails and can easily tear through flesh, wood, clothing, and many natural materials. His enlarged canine teeth are also part of his natural mutation and resemble the fangs of a predatory animal. At times, when his skeleton and claws were bonded or reinforced with adamantium, his claws became capable of slicing through far more durable substances. However, even adamantium claws cannot casually cut through every material in the Marvel Universe. True adamantium itself is extraordinarily resistant, and Captain America's shield contains a unique vibranium and proto-adamantium alloy rather than being a simple piece of standard adamantium. In some alternate universe variations, Sabretooth received additional enhancements. For example, in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, he possessed 4 long retractable adamantium claws and additional adamantium modifications, but those features don't apply to the mainstream Earth 616 version. He has had an adamantium skeleton more than once, and each time it changed his body. It's well known among Marvel comic readers and fans that adamantium bonding has played a significant role in the histories of both Wolverine and Sabretooth. When it comes to Sabretooth, he's received adamantium enhancements during multiple periods of Marvel continuity, separating him from most characters who would never survive even one version of the procedure. Marvel stories have shown that adamantium bonding can be physically traumatic and extremely painful. One major period occurred when Sabretooth was captured by Apocalypse alongside Wolverine. Apocalypse forced the two to fight for the position of Horseman of Death. Sabretooth initially received adamantium bonded to his skeleton, partly to make him more powerful and controllable. Wolverine eventually defeated Sabretooth and became Apocalypse's chosen horseman. Apocalypse removed the adamantium from Sabretooth's body and transferred it to Wolverine. The removal caused Creed severe trauma, although Gambit later helped him survive the aftermath. Sabretooth later received another adamantium treatment through the revived Weapon X program. This came during the early 2000s stories associated with the newer Weapon X organization, where Creed worked with the program while pursuing his own agenda. He eventually turned against Weapon X after its operatives nearly killed him using adamantium ammunition. Following House of M, Sabretooth was often depicted as retaining the adamantium modifications he's received from Weapon X, although later comics have not always represented the condition of his skeleton consistently. So yes, Sabretooth has possessed adamantium more than once, but whether every bone, claw, and tooth remained fully coated in every subsequent story depends heavily on the particular comic era. When Sabretooth goes feral, is he still in control of his own body? Throughout most of Marvel Comics history, Sabretooth has embraced the feral and predatory aspects of his mutation far more readily than Wolverine. Whenever he fights someone, not only Wolverine, he's often willing to surrender himself to aggression, bloodlust, and instinct because he believes that doing so gives him an advantage. However, describing this as a medically confirmed shift in brain chemistry would go beyond what the comics have directly established. Logan can also enter a berserker rage, but he usually tries to maintain control because he fears hurting innocent people or the people he loves. Sabretooth has far fewer moral restraints. He does not require a special biological boost to become violent because violence is already central to how he chooses to live and fight. When he embraces a berserker state, he can maintain aggression through extensive pain and injury, aided by his enhanced endurance and healing factor. However, adrenaline and rage do not make him invincible or impossible to hurt. Wolverine, the X-Men, and numerous other opponents have injured and defeated him while he was enraged. So to answer the main question, when Sabretooth goes feral, he usually retains some control over his body and tactical awareness. He's not automatically unconscious or mindless. He often chooses to give greater control to his rage and predatory influences. That's one of the biggest differences between Creed and Logan. Logan fears the animal within him, Creed celebrates it. Just how strong is Sabretooth, and where does he sit among Marvel's heavyweights? Sabretooth has many special abilities, which I'll mention later, but on top of all of them is his raw, animalistic strength. That strength allows him to endure extreme physical pressure and fight opponents such as Wolverine, even when Logan possesses an adamantium skeleton. Creed has smashed through walls, broken restraints, thrown adult men, bent metal, and overpowered trained superhuman opponents. For example, he once pulled Maverick down and smashed his head into stone. He's performed similar feats during fights with Wolverine. Along with his natural strength, Sabretooth's muscle structure and physical capabilities have been enhanced more than once. The first major enhancement came through genetic experimentation ordered by his son Graydon Creed in the Sabretooth Limited series by Larry Hama and Mark Teixeira. That augmentation placed him within a higher superhuman strength class, with some Marvel reference material crediting him with the ability to lift approximately 2 tons. A later enhancement came from the Weapon X program. However, the full limits of that version of his strength were never defined consistently. The original draft stated that the later handbook listed him as lifting only 800 pounds for brief periods, but that figure conflicts with other handbook descriptions and with the 2-ton range associated with his enhanced form. The safest conclusion is that Sabretooth is significantly stronger than a normal human, and is usually portrayed as physically stronger than Wolverine. However, he's not one of Marvel's true heavyweight powerhouses. He can't be placed in the same raw strength category as Hulk, Thor, Hercules, or the Thing. His danger comes from combining superhuman strength with claws, speed, healing, senses, experience, and a complete willingness to kill. Is Sabretooth actually fast, or is he just a big brute who hits hard? If you thought his aggression and massive size were the only things that made him dangerous, you would be wrong, because Creed also possesses enhanced speed, reflexes, agility, and reaction time. He can move faster than an ordinary human athlete, particularly over short distances and during sudden attacks. Unlike regular humans, Creed does not tire easily, allowing him to maintain his speed and aggression for extended battles. He's dispatched armed opponents before they could aim properly and has reacted to gunfire at close range. At different times, he's even avoided or reacted to attacks from expert marksmen such as Frank Castle, also known as the Punisher. However, saying that he consistently dodges bullets after they've already been fired at point-blank range would require analyzing the exact panels and circumstances. His agility and reflexes have been enhanced by his mutation and possibly by later experimentation. But figures such as being exactly 3 times faster than a normal human are handbook-style approximations rather than a strict limit. You have to see how he moves. He combines the size and strength of a huge predator with the stealth, flexibility, and explosive power of a big cat. That allows him to pounce on enemies before they realize he's even close. So he's definitely not simply a big brute who hits hard. His senses are a biological weapon on their own, and this is what they can actually do. Creed's feral mutation also gave him highly developed senses, making him an exceptional tracker. He famously used these abilities during his annual tradition of hunting Wolverine on Logan's birthday, as shown in Wolverine issue 10 by Chris Claremont and John Buscema. Sabretooth possesses enhanced vision and can see with greater clarity and at greater distances than most ordinary humans. Some Marvel handbook descriptions have stated that his vision reaches into parts of the infrared and ultraviolet spectrum, giving him improved perception in darkness or unusual lighting conditions. That doesn't necessarily mean he sees with perfect clarity in absolute darkness, but he can function in extremely low-light environments. Along with that vision, he has enhanced hearing, allowing him to detect quieter sounds and hear them from far greater distances than normal humans. Some reference material has claimed that he can detect something as subtle as breathing at a distance of roughly 200 feet under unfavorable conditions. He also has an extraordinarily developed sense of smell. He can identify and track individuals by scent in a manner similar to predatory mammals. He can recognize people despite disguises, follow trails across long distances, and detect subtle chemical differences. Handbook material has even described him distinguishing between extremely similar deodorant scents. His sense of taste is also heightened, although the exact limits of that ability have rarely been important in the comics. It's clear that Sabretooth's senses function as biological weapons. They can help him locate prey, detect fear, follow blood, identify deception, and continue tracking enemies who believe they've escaped. Can Sabretooth ever actually get tired? All I've seen Sabretooth do is fight and rage, so of course this question made me curious about whether he actually gets tired. His feral mutation and healing factor provide him with enhanced stamina and resistance to fatigue. His body processes the effects of physical exertion far more efficiently than an ordinary human body. This allows him to perform intense physical activity for extended periods. We've seen this across numerous Marvel stories. He fights. He gets injured. His healing factor repairs the damage. He feels the pain, but he continues fighting. He keeps attacking until his opponent is defeated, he's restrained, or exhaustion finally catches up with him. However, Sabretooth does not possess literally infinite stamina. He can become tired. His healing factor can be overwhelmed. He can lose consciousness. He can be weakened by blood loss, poison, disease, power suppression, starvation, and extreme trauma, depending on the story. What makes him dangerous is that reaching that point usually requires far more punishment than an ordinary person could survive. That ability to endure is exactly what makes Sabretooth so difficult to stop. A claw through the brain made him harder to read. The telepathy-resistant story. There came a period when Sabretooth became extremely difficult to read telepathically after Wolverine punctured part of his brain. Professor X had brought Sabretooth to the X-Mansion in the hope that he could be treated or rehabilitated. Creed was secured behind an energy force field and occasionally provided information to the X-Men. However, he repeatedly taunted Wolverine and attempted to provoke him. One night, Sabretooth escaped through the weakening force field. Wolverine initially tried to restrain him defensively without using lethal force. Creed then threatened Jubilee and the other people Logan cared about. The taunting continued until Wolverine extended one claw into Sabretooth's brain. This damaged Creed's frontal lobe and left him in a childlike and mentally diminished condition for a period of time. The injury also made his thoughts disorganized and difficult for telepaths to interpret. However, this shouldn't be described as permanent immunity to telepathy. Professor X and Jean Grey were still able to locate, communicate with, or affect his mind under certain circumstances. The claw injury damaged his mental function. It did not evolve his brain into a permanently telepathy-proof organ. Victor Creed might be over 100 years old, so why does his body not show it? You might think Creed's healing factor only repairs wounds, but his regenerative ability also appears to slow his aging. His body continually repairs cellular damage, and in Marvel biology, this often allows characters with powerful healing factors to remain physically young for far longer than ordinary humans. That's why Creed can maintain the same massive appearance and combat ability across decades. However, his exact age has never been established consistently. He's appeared in stories taking place many decades before the modern era, including material connecting him with Wolverine's long and complicated past. Weapon X and Team X stories have also involved age-retarding treatments, memory implants, and other enhancements. These may have contributed to his extended lifespan. But Weapon X memory manipulation makes his history extremely difficult to reconstruct. Creed has received false memories. He has been psychologically conditioned. Different characters have lied to him about his past. Different writers have also revised his history. All of these factors explain why Marvel Comics has never given one universally reliable answer for exactly how old Victor Creed is. The safest statement is that he ages far more slowly than a normal human, and may well be over a century old, depending on which parts of his history remain canon. Weapon X did not just add metal to him. Here is everything the program actually changed. Sabretooth's connection with Weapon X goes beyond one operation. Throughout Creed's history, he's been associated with Team X, Weapon X, and other secret programs that subjected him to conditioning, experimentation, memory alteration, and physical enhancement. The most obvious modification was the addition of Adamantium to his body during certain periods. He also received treatments that increased his physical strength, endurance, healing ability, and resistance to damage. Some programs used drugs, mental conditioning, implanted memories, and behavioral control. However, the details are not always clear. When we compare him with Wolverine, whose adamantium bonding process has been shown repeatedly, Creed's enhancements are scattered across many different stories. That makes it difficult to determine precisely which powers were entirely natural and which were amplified by outside experimentation. His claws, fangs, healing factor, enhanced senses, strength, reflexes, and feral traits existed as mutant abilities. Weapon X did not create Sabretooth's mutation. What the program did was weaponize, alter, amplify, and attempt to control an already dangerous mutant. It transformed a natural feral predator into a more durable and more efficient killing machine. The Krakoa Pit was supposed to break him, but it did not upgrade his healing factor. You can say that Sabretooth and the Exiles, written by Victor Laval, are among the most important recent stories involving Creed. They explore aspects of the character that Marvel had not examined in this way before. Sabretooth broke one of the 3 laws of Krakoa by murdering humans during a mission. Because of this, the Quiet Council sentenced him to the pit beneath Krakoa. The pit was not literally hell, but Krakoa created a psychic prison in which Sabretooth's consciousness remained trapped beneath the island. Creed eventually gained a degree of influence over that prison, contacted other exiled mutants, and found a way to escape. After leaving Krakoa, he and the Exiles encountered Orcus. Creed was captured and subjected to brutal experimentation. Orcus fitted him with a power-dampening collar to interfere with his abilities. However, the researchers discovered that his body continued displaying regenerative activity despite the collar. This doesn't prove that the pit permanently upgraded his healing factor. The comics did not establish a clear biological transformation caused by the pit itself. It's more accurate to say that the Orcus collar didn't completely suppress his healing under those conditions. There could have been a weakness in the collar, an incomplete suppression effect, or an unusual interaction with his mutation. It also doesn't prove that Sabretooth's healing factor had permanently surpassed Wolverine's. Different power dampeners have affected Logan and Creed differently in different stories. So yeah, the Krakoan pit did not break Creed. But it shouldn't be credited with granting him a confirmed new regenerative upgrade unless a later comic states that directly. The Sabretooth War showed exactly how far his cruelty and tactics had come. The Sabretooth War took place in Wolverine issues 41 through 50, written by Benjamin Percy and Victor Laval, with art by Corey Smith, Jeff Shaw, and other contributors. This happened after Sabretooth escaped the pit and set out to take revenge on Wolverine. He assembled a small army of bloodthirsty Sabretooth variants from alternate realities. Sabretooth tracked down Wolverine and his allies at their Arctic base and continued his annual tradition of tormenting Logan around his birthday. Creed and his variants attacked Wolverine's allies, killed Quentin Quire, and brutally murdered Akihiro, also known as Daken or Fang, in Wolverine issue 41. After Creed's team captured Wolverine and left him suffering in the freezing Arctic, the Sabretooth army attacked other mutant survivors. Wolverine, X-Force, and the Exiles eventually fought back. By issue 46, Sabretooth manipulated Wolverine through Quentin Quire's severed head and used Logan to infiltrate Forge's hidden laboratory beneath Krakoa. Sabretooth wanted Forge's depowering weapon. After Wolverine accidentally killed Melter while under psychic manipulation, Creed obtained the weapon and shot Logan with it. The weapon removed Wolverine's mutant powers, including his healing factor, leaving him vulnerable. The entire storyline showed how much more manipulative, tactical, cruel, and unhinged Sabretooth had become. It didn't necessarily show that his basic biology had evolved dramatically. His healing, senses, claws, strength, and feral mutation remained central. What changed most visibly was the scale of his planning. He assembled an army. He weaponized Wolverine's relationships. He exploited Quentin Quire's powers. He stole a depowering weapon. And he transformed his hatred into an organized war. So, is there anything that can actually stop him? From everything we've discussed above, Sabretooth can seem almost undefeatable. But even his regenerative ability has limits, and throughout publication history, we've seen him critically injured, restrained, depowered, mentally altered, and defeated in numerous ways. If someone injures him severely enough to overwhelm his healing factor, he can be stopped. Decapitation, dismemberment, sustained burning, drowning, power suppression, mystical weapons, specialized toxins, and attacks that prevent healing have all posed serious threats depending on the story. His fighting style can also be used against him. Creed is highly skilled and experienced, but he often becomes reckless because he enjoys frightening and hurting his opponents. That creates opportunities for a more disciplined fighter to exploit. Wolverine has defeated him. The X-Men have contained him. Apocalypse has stripped away his adamantium. Telepaths have entered or damaged his mind. Krakoa imprisoned him. Forge's technology and other power nullification methods have removed or weakened his abilities. And no one is written in a way that means they can never be defeated. At the end of the day, every character reveals some weakness. The challenge is surviving long enough to use it. What do we conclude from this? Well, first things first, Sabretooth is definitely not simply a Wolverine copy with worse hair and no moral compass, because he is built differently. He is naturally larger and is usually physically stronger. His claws and fangs are different from Logan's bone claws. He uses his senses and predatory instincts more aggressively. He embraces the feral side that Wolverine spends much of his life trying to control. His healing factor has allowed him to survive astonishing damage, although it's not consistently proven to be stronger than Wolverine's in every era. He has received adamantium more than once. He has survived Weapon X experimentation, psychic damage, power suppression, the Krakoa Pit, Orcus imprisonment, and his own reckless violence. And despite all the experiments and treatments that he's endured for such a long time, he keeps coming back. The recent Krakoa era did something new with him. It showed that Sabretooth was not dangerous only because of his body. He could manipulate prisoners, organize mutant exiles, command alternate versions of himself, and turn personal hatred into a full war. He was still unhinged and full of carnage, but if we don't have dangerous mutants like him, who is going to make the fight interesting? Am I right? So guys, what are your thoughts on Sabretooth? Share them in the comments section below. Until next time, thanks for watching.